What if I told you that some of the most powerful forces shaping the modern world, what you listen to, what you wear, how you think, even what you eat, can be traced back to one place, Africa? Not just as a point of origin, but as a continuing influence. Stay with me, because as we go deeper, you're going to start connecting dots you've probably never noticed before, and by the end, you may never see global culture the same way again. Africa is often described as the cradle of humanity. But beyond that, it is the cradle of expression, of rhythm, of storytelling, of innovation. For thousands of years, African societies developed complex systems of art, governance, spirituality, and community long before many modern structures existed. And yet here's the mystery. Why is so much of Africa's global impact still underrepresented? In mainstream narratives? Let's start with something universal: music. Before there were recording studios, before there were global charts, there were rhythms, raw, complex, deeply spiritual rhythms. African music wasn't just entertainment, it was communication. It marked births, deaths, harvests, wars, and celebrations. What made African music unique was its use of polyrhythms, multiple rhythms played at once. This created a layered, dynamic sound that you can still hear today in genres across the world. When Africans were displaced during the transatlantic slave trade, they carried these rhythms with them, not as instruments, but as memory. Those rhythms survived in claps, chants, and improvised instruments. Over time, those sounds evolved into blues, which gave birth to jazz, which influenced rock, which shaped pop, and eventually led to hip-hop, Afro beats, and global contemporary music. Even today, Afro beats is dominating international charts, collaborations, and dance culture. The world is not just listening to Africa, it's moving to Africa. But here's something deeper to think about. Is this a new discovery? Or a rediscovery of something that never left? Now let's move from sound to sight, art. African art has always been deeply symbolic. Every mask, every sculpture, every pattern carries meaning, spiritual, social, political. These weren't random creations. They were visual languages. For example, masks were often used in ceremonies to represent ancestors or spiritual forces. Sculptures could symbolize leadership, fertility, or protection. Art was not separate from life, it was embedded in it. When European artists in the early 20th century encountered African art, they were stunned. The abstraction, the boldness, the distortion of form, it challenged everything they thought art should be. This exposure directly influenced major art movements like Cubism and Expressionism. What the world later celebrated as modern art was, in many ways, inspired by African creativity that had existed for generations. And then there's fashion, one of the most visible expressions of culture today. African textiles are not just beautiful. They are coded. Colors, patterns, and designs often carry messages about status, history, and identity. Take kente cloth, for example. Each pattern tells a story. Each color has meaning. Gold for wealth, green for growth, blue for peace. Ankara prints, now globally recognized, have become symbols of pride, identity, and modern African expression. Today, these designs are featured in international fashion shows, worn by celebrities and embraced by designers worldwide. But let's pause for a moment. When African fashion becomes global, is the story behind it still being told? Or are we celebrating the look without understanding the legacy? Now let's go even deeper into philosophy. Long before modern discussions about emotional intelligence, leadership ethics, and social responsibility, African societies were already built on principles that emphasized balance, respect, and community. One of the most powerful philosophies is Ubuntu. I am because we are. It sounds simple, but it carries profound meaning. Ubuntu teaches that a person's identity is rooted in their relationships with others. It challenges the idea of extreme individualism and instead promotes shared humanity. This philosophy has influenced global leaders, peace movements, and reconciliation processes. It played a role in post-apartheid healing efforts, showing the world that justice and compassion can coexist. Now imagine this. In a world facing division, inequality, and isolation, could the key to healing already exist in African wisdom? And finally, let's talk about something that connects all of us: food. African cuisine is incredibly diverse, shaped by geography, climate, and culture. From West Africa to East Africa, from north to south, Each region offers unique flavors and techniques. But beyond taste, food in Africa is about community. Meals are shared. Cooking is often collective. Eating is an experience, not just an activity. Dishes like jollof rice have sparked friendly rivalries across countries, each claiming the best version. Injera, with its spongy texture, serves as both plate and utensil in Ethiopian cuisine. And then there are the spices, rich, aromatic, deeply rooted in the land. Many of these flavors have influenced global cuisines in ways people don't even realize. Here's something to consider. How many global dishes today carry African influence without acknowledgement? When you step back and look at it all, a pattern begins to emerge. Africa is not just part of the global story. It is central to it. From the rhythms that move us, to the art that inspires us, to the philosophies that guide us, to the food that brings us together, Africa's influence is everywhere. And yet so much of it remains unspoken. So maybe the question is not whether Africa has shaped the world. The real question is, why haven't we fully recognized it? Because once you start to see it, you can't unsee it. Because once you start to see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you begin to appreciate culture on a whole new level. In the next video, we're going to uncover something even more surprising: how ancient African knowledge systems influenced early education, science, and even what we now call universities. And trust me, that story will challenge everything you thought you knew about history. If this made you think differently, then you're already on the journey. Because sometimes the most powerful truths are the ones that were always there, just waiting to be seen.